students, welcome to our presentation on global health and culture and a little bit about me. So today I'm excited to discuss with you a couple of key points. First of all, what can you expect from our global health and culture class? Secondly, I will share with you a little bit about how I developed my passion for global health and a little bit about my background. And finally, we'll discuss briefly global health opportunities in Jacksonville and also in your own backyard. So first of all, we'll start at the definition of global health. Global health is the health of populations in a global context. It has been defined as the area of study, research, and practice that places a priority on improving health and achieving equity and health for all people worldwide. Problems that transcend national boundaries or have a global political and economic impact are often emphasized. Thus, global health is about worldwide health improvement, reduction of disparities, and protection against global threats that disregard national borders. Global health is not to be confused with international health, which is defined as the branch of public health focusing on developing nations and foreign aid efforts by industrialized nations. So to begin this class, I just wanted to share one key thought, that global health issues are worldwide issues, but they're also local issues that impact each and every one of us. Their problems become our problems, and our problems certainly become their problems. A couple of their issues might be the Zika virus, refugee migration, overpopulation. And some issues that have really festered within our backyard include deforestation, water stress, climate change, refugee integration, and so many more, as we'll discuss in a moment. Let's look at Zika. The Zika virus started off as the mystery disease sweeping across northeast Brazil, but it very quickly spread right to our backyard here in Florida. We can also look at Ebola, which started off in West Africa and also spread to the United States fairly quickly. We're also experiencing the largest refugee exodus since World War II. And as we've all seen from the news and the media, many refugees actually never make it to freedom. And these are some photographs that I'm sure you've all seen from some of the refugees who have or have not made it to their final destination. And I'm not sure if you know that Jacksonville accepts a large proportion of resettled refugees. In fact, we have 3 resettlement organizations that are actively trying to resettle our huge number of refugees. And this gives us many, many local opportunities to help some of these folks. So I hope you'll look for some of those in the future. Now let me share with you a little bit about how I developed my passion for global health. Well, I've got a pretty varied background. I'm just going to quickly go through some of the key things that I've done in my past just to give you a better understanding of how I really became infatuated with the whole field. I'm going to start off with talking about my experiences in Thailand with a program called World Teach that I volunteered with, the consortium Save the Children, which is the main organization in the refugee camp, 2 of which I did while in Thailand. After leaving Thailand, I went to Columbia University to study my master's degrees and my doctorate, and where I was also an adjunct assistant professor for a number of different years before moving here to Florida. I also started my own 501c3, the Adolescent Health Alliance, while I was in graduate school, a grassroots organization that started, in some of the inner city health clinics in Harlem and moved to the larger New York City metro area. I was vice president of an organization called National Health Promotion Associates. Then I moved to the corporate side to work at Pfizer in strategic marketing. And I have many different areas of expertise, as you can tell. I love refugee health, global health, maternal and child health, managed care, program design, development, evaluation, new business development, and I've done a ton with fundraising. So let me talk to you a little bit about these. Since I've been very, very young, I've always wanted to try to make a difference in the world. My goal at 6 years old was to do something meaningful, to really change the world, to really help a large group of people. And I actually did that. I started a bank account when I was in kindergarten, and I saved through high school and college with the eventual goal of either working with the Peace Corps or another volunteer to make a difference in the world. When I was 6 years old, the event that inspired me to start thinking about others was that our church accepted they called them a boat family. It was a refugee family from Laos. They had to leave as very quickly with nothing. They came on a boat and they ended up in New York. And our church and then our school accepted these folks, and everyone kind of helped integrate them into the New York area culture. I became friends with one of the young girls, and I just thought it was so fascinating. They had such a unique culture. They ate unique foods. They were so different than us. I just thought that was so refreshing. And anyway, I love that there was such a warmth for this family, and I said, God, I would love to do something like this and help others, like our community has helped this one family. And ironically, this family, they had 5 young girls. They all became extremely successful businesswomen, and they're doing things all over the world now. But they have a very strong philanthropic heart to help others as well. So it's kind of a nice follow-through story. So anyway, I started off at 6, was really excited about doing some great things. I knew that when I finished college I was going to do something, and the program I ended up following through with was in Thailand. It was a program called World Teach, and I went to Thailand for the year to help establish this program in local colleges throughout the country, and I loved it. It was a fantastic experience. This picture here in the lower right-hand corner is the college that I was teaching at for 2 years. It's called Rajamangala Institute of Technology, Lana campus. And it was at the bottom of a large mountain where the famous temple Doi Sutat is. I don't know if you've ever been to Thailand before, but it was beautiful. It was fascinating. So anyway, I worked with World Teach for a year, decided to say a second year to develop a new volunteer orientation. I created a Thai culture and language component for new volunteers and taught the new volunteers as they came in. I would just immerse them in the culture and language for 2 weeks for each of the volunteer groups who came in every 3 months. It was really exciting. This is a picture of Chiang Mai, also called the Land of Temples. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is the temple at the top of the Doi Sutat mountain, and my college was not too far from here. It was right over, if you're looking at the picture on the upper left-hand corner, it was at the bottom of this mountain. While working with World Teach, I also volunteered with a number of relief missions to provide assistance to the hill tribe populations in northeastern Thailand. On my breaks, long weekends, anytime I could get away and help, I joined multidisciplinary teams with an array of different volunteers, architects, nurses, doctors, public health professionals, and we'd go in, build or fix schools, and we would basically provide first aid to these hill tribe populations. These are some Hmong children, some Lahu children, and some of the huts where they live, where we used to stay. It was wonderful. I actually became fluent in Hmong, one of the languages for the 4 young children are Hmong, so it was fun to go back and actually be able to speak with them. Then I got the job of a lifetime working in an Indo-Chinese refugee camp in a tiny Chinese-Thai village called Pinat Nakhon outside Chonburi. It was about 4 hours out southeast of Bangkok. I was working primarily with Save the Children. It was an absolutely unbelievable experience. Our camp was the last refugee camp that refugees would go to before resettlement in their third country. So we taught them culture orientation, work orientation skills, English language skills, and it was overall, it was a really fascinating place to work. We had there were over 20,000 refugees who resided in the camp. Most came from the Vietnam War, also from many Khmer folks, survivors from Pol Pot regimes. and we had many different hill tribes, and I focused on maternal and child health primarily during this time. These are some of my students. I also taught science classes, and on the left and the right, and this in the middle is a picture of a family, a Vietnamese family, who were about to come to the United States for resettlement, and they just wanted a picture in front of the wall, one of the walls we painted, as a memory. Most of the refugees, as I mentioned, were from Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Oh, I'm sorry, I just jumped forward to the end. Many different nationalities within the camp. They were absolutely just fascinating to learn about their cultures. This is a typical refugee home. It's actually a block of homes. They were very simple. They were meant to be temporary, no roads, no real trees. It was supposed to be a very temporary existence, and as you can see, a little bit challenging to live in. The urn in front is the local water for this block of homes, so there was absolutely no privacy in trying to wash or shower, upnam as you call it. Clean, fresh water was always a challenge. There was flooding oftentimes during the monsoon season. Trying to find clean water for cooking or for feeding your children was a big issue, and infectious diseases, as you could imagine, would fester in the dirty water. These are some of the pictures I took of some of the children. On the lower right-hand corner, these children are jumping into open drainage ditches. It was just really sad. This was during the hot, dry summer season where there's really no water, and I saw these adorable little children playing in the open sewage, which is just heartbreaking. As I mentioned, I focused on maternal and child health for a majority of my time at the refugee camp. These are some of my students, and as you can see, the first upper left-hand corner, the young man to the right of me was my translator. These women were all Hmong, but the other pictures, they were Hmong, Mian, Lahu, Khmer. They're all different languages. So I would speak in Thai, and it would be translated to, I had translators who would translate to the various languages. I was able to speak Hmong as well, but the other languages were just, so challenging that I had to have translators. But I learned so much from my students. There were many different cultures living in the camp. We had a cultural pride day. These are some of their outfits. And this cute little picture on the lower left-hand corner is a bee, unfortunately dressed up as a Hmong bride. And the larger and fatter you look, the more healthy it is. And so I had many different rags tied underneath this kimono outfit, and with these, on the top of it with the pink and green colored scarves. Because, right, the larger you are, the healthier you are. But not so pretty. I did work, I taught art as well too. These are some of my 5-year-old students. Really kind of a neat group of kids. And you can see the watch-out tower behind me, that there was a barbed wire surrounding the camp, and this is one of the lookout towers. And the kids were very hard to leave. They'd follow me around, they'd listen to me outside my classroom. They were beautiful children. It was sad when I had to finally leave them. But I did leave them on a Sunday and started Columbia University on a Monday after not having spoken English for 4 years. It was quite a challenge. Going from a hut with limited electricity to using computers was really challenging. But it was exciting. I got my master's at the School of Public Health in International Population and Family Health, and I got my MS at Teachers College and my doctorate, and I taught a number of different classes while at Columbia, one of which was global health. I also taught women's health. I taught many different classes. It was really fun. I did that in the evenings while I worked. One of the things I did when I was a graduate student, I also volunteered with the March of Dimes, and I created a program that I turned into 501c3 that I started here in this clinic on 103rd Street in Harlem in New York City, starting off with a pregnancy prevention program, moved to a substance abuse program, smoking. I had many different modules, and would spend every weekend in Harlem working with the young children. It's really quite exciting. And it grew and grew and grew until I had to create a 501c3, a nonprofit organization called Adolescent Health Alliance, and we had a board of directors. It was really exciting. We had different modules, and it's still going on now with some of my colleagues in New York City. I also completed a Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Fellowship, which was a fantastic experience where you really get an overview of the whole breadth of public health. I also interned with the New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation, working on the Healthy Mother program, and working with corporate nursing, once again in Harlem, trying to figure out why these young girls were getting pregnant at such, a tender age of, 9 and 10. My first real job was with Oxford Health Plans and Disease Management, new focus on managed care and HMOs and PPOs. Then I became the Vice President of National Health and Promotion Associates, where I focused more on research, writing NIH grants, publishing our research. It was really exciting. Then I moved over to the corporate side of healthcare to work at Pfizer in strategic marketing, working on cross-functional teams with a doctor, a nurse, a marketing person, an IT, a business strategist, and so that was a completely different side of the healthcare side. So anyway, now you may be saying, well, what did I do for fun during these years? Well, I certainly love traveling. I spent a great deal of time visiting India, all over Asia, Eastern Africa, North, South, and Central America. This is a picture of me summiting Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, Africa, over 19,000 feet high. This picture was taken, and right after this, I fell to the ground. I was so sick. I couldn't breathe. I just wanted to curl up and go to sleep on the mountain, and of course, everyone was quite aghast that I wanted to sleep, and I would have probably perished. So they forced me to quickly leave the summit, and it took me 3 days to walk down. It was ridiculous. I also have hiked the Inca Trail in Peru twice, and of course both during the rainy season. This was a picture most recently from our trip last spring with some of my colleagues, my research colleagues. I love helping the underserved, and as I just mentioned, I organized a humanitarian mission to Peru to conduct a needs assessment in a small rural village outside Cusco. One of my former global health students is there now working with my team, which is quite exciting. Peru is a fascinating country. There's the typical llama and some of the country women who were just so friendly. There's a market on the right. Unfortunately, there's a tremendous amount of poverty. This is a young woman looking through the garbage, trying to, find something to sell. And this little tiny boy is a child. His mother was a street cleaner, and he was sleeping on the street. And we brought him some food and toys, but it was just, it's sad. It's challenging. During our time, we also volunteered at a rural health clinic. Just a minute, I'm sorry about this. We volunteered at a rural health clinic. The gentleman on the right is the physician who is heading up the clinic, Dr. Nathan. And he gave us a tour. We walked around, we met all the folks, we did English classes, and we conducted a big needs assessment on how we might help improve the life and integrity of his clinic. During this time, we also worked with young homeless women, young girls, actually. They were 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. They many of them had been raped and ostracized, kicked out of their village, and so the clinic heard about these young girls, brought them into town in Cusco, and they were able to live in a funded sanctuary and could go to school and had childcare until they're 18, so they could at least develop some skills. These were some of the girls, and the children. The little girl here in green was 13. Her son was adorable. We also spent time working in a special needs orphanage. These are some of the children. It's called the Josephine House, and the picture in the upper right-hand corner is the old orphanage, and one of my colleagues had helped sponsor a drive to build a new orphanage, which is the light green house below it. This is the opening. They're cutting the ribbon for the new home. And as you can see, the old home was dark. There were stairs with only bathrooms on the bottom floor. So the children, it was very hard for the residents to carry the children up and down the stairs all the time. And this house, everything was primarily on the first floor. It was much easier for the kids. So now you may be asking, so what about global health opportunities in Jacksonville? What's going on? What do we have to offer here? Well, there's actually a lot. Right here at UNF, there's something called the Distinguished Voices Lecture at the UNF Herbert University Center. On Tuesdays once a month, they offer free lectures. It's in partnership with the World Affairs Council. They bring in real leaders in the global community to discuss a variety of topics. And the first one is going to be this Tuesday, September 20th. They're all at 7 o'clock at the University Center once again, and they're free. This Tuesday will be a presentation of John Rosales. He's the Vice President of Translation Development for SRI International. He's a fascinating gentleman. There's his bio below. He's an international recognized expert in the development of drugs for infectious diseases. He managed 2 large programs for the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases for the development of promising therapeutics for the prevention and treatment of a broad range of infectious diseases, including TB, malaria, influenza, polio, anthrax, plague, and Ebola. Anyway, he's a fascinating guy, and you can reserve tickets either through the World Affairs Council if you become a member, or you could do it through the UNF through their Distinguished Voices lecture series. They are available starting August 20th. I can get you tickets too. I'd be happy, if anyone would like a ticket, I'd be happy to get you one. Another great organization is something called Rethreaded here on 820 Barnett Street, downtown Jacksonville. I don't know if you know, but Florida ranked 2nd in the nation for human trafficking, and Jacksonville is ranked 1st in the state. And last year, JSO rescued 55 survivors of human trafficking. 4 of them were minor. And 92% of women trapped in prostitution said they would leave if they ever could. So Rethreaded is an organization created by a wonderful woman named Kristen Keene. I've been working with her since she started her organization about 7 years ago in Jacksonville. And they're doing some great things. She used to work at a similar organization in India for 5 years, and where they would take old saris and turn them into products that could be sold, like scarves, baby blankets, bags, and such. And they would bring in former sex workers, train them on to become seamstresses, develop these products, so they would actually get skills. She took the same concept and brought it here to Jacksonville, and it has trained a number of women to in these great skills, and they're making money, so it's really quite exciting. It's a new and upcoming organization, Rethreaded. Another organization, World Relief Jacksonville, is one of the 3 refugee resettlement organizations here in town. It's located on University Boulevard. They have tons of opportunities. I go there all the time to meet refugees, to volunteer, to drop off things. It's a great organization. If you get a chance, you should reach out to them. What global health projects can you get involved in, or are you already involved in Jacksonville or in your town? I'd love to hear about what you're doing, or what you'd like to do, or if you have any ideas of something you'd like to pursue. I'd love to help you do that. I think global health is so important. It's fascinating. And so just drop me a ring, text me, and if you'd like to do something, you're interested, and I'd love to help you. So anyway, thank you so much. I'm really excited for a fantastic year. Email me, call me, text me at any point. I've given you my cell phone. I'm really excited to work with you, and I look forward to reading some of your discussion blogs. Have a great day. Thanks.